All right, how's everybody doing? This is the inaugural. This is the first ever Talented Compromise podcast. It would only be right if the very first podcast included the world famous, the world renowned, the woman herself, Mrs. Kiera Shenice from the Kiera Shenice Experience. Give it up for her. Give it up for her. Give it up for her. Yes. So. And I'm gonna put all her details in the information on the page pop-ups, right? Subscribe, like, comment. So do that, right? This is brand new for me. Hey, the reason why Kiera's here is because Kiera's been doing this for a minute, and she was nice enough to put me on her podcast. And what makes more sense than have Kiera on the very first Talented Compromise podcast? So, Kiera, once again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
me.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So just tell the people a little bit about yourself and what it is that you, who you are, what you do, and all that.
Okay, well, my name is Kiera Shenice. Some of y'all might already know I have a YouTube channel. Currently living and working in Kuwait. I'm just your regular girl from Florida. I'm actually from Central Florida, so like right in between Tampa and Orlando, but before I moved here I was living in Tampa. I have been in Kuwait officially for 11 months. As of next month, August 24th, it'll be a whole year.
Hey, we're live at the Verb Cafe, so if you see food coming, you see people walking around, because we don't own the spot, we are just guests, and we are enjoying hanging out, enjoying some coffee, some tea, hookah, as people know it back in the States. I mentioned before about the podcast, so here's the idea.
Sorry.
No, you're good. The Talented Compromise, I'm subscribing to two different doctrines. Third alert is that W.B. Du Bois had the talented 10th, right? And he said, we're going to take the 10% of our population of blacks, go educate them formally so they can get right for us. And then Booker T. Washington said, hey, we should learn a skilled trade, we should make ourselves useful within the community, and then therefore whites would have to work with us, and that's how we'll get progress. And my thought is like, they're both right. But back in the day there was kind of opposing viewpoints, and I'm like, well, what if you just both, right? So that's where the Talented Compromise comes from. What I want to do today, the reason why Kiera's here, is we're going to talk about how we came to Kuwait, and more importantly, what did we sacrifice to get here, and what have we gained while being here? Right, so if our time ended today, what would be the takeaways, right? So, Kiera, I'm gonna let you go first. So, tell me first how and why you came, and then let me know, like, what do you think you sacrificed back home to be out here?
I initially came because I was in a relationship, and my ex at the time, he got a contracting job here, and then he's like, oh, hey, you should come on over or whatever, and basically he like put the bug in my ear. Okay. And from there, I started researching different jobs and opportunities and things like that, and now here I am. We aren't together anymore, but I was committed to the cause, and on top of that, like, aside from just being with him, I had always really wanted to like go overseas, or like I used to tell my mom all the time, like, I want to move to New York, I want to move to California, I wanted to be somewhere different and just see the world. So like when he put this out here, like I didn't just look in Kuwait, I looked in Spain, I looked in Colombia, I looked in a whole bunch of different countries, and not just Kuwait. But since I got the offer here and he was here, it's just like, okay, let me go ahead and come,
for sure.
here.
When you made the decision finally to come, what sort of life adjustment did you have to make back home? How did you come to the decision? Like, how did you weigh the pros and cons of like, hey, I'm leaving family, but here's an opportunity? So walk me through that. So,
like I said, my family always knew that I wanted to do more, and not just be in my hometown and just kind of not necessarily get away. It's not that I'm running away from anything. It's just the fact that like I knew that there was more to life. So it was, I told my family, I'm very close to them, and like they knew the whole process. Like, okay, she's applying. They knew when I had interviews or whatever. And just basically like I started educating myself, like just like I created a YouTube channel. I went on other people's YouTube channels to try and see what information was out there. I looked up the salaries, I looked up the benefits, I looked up all the different things, you know, and started, like you said, weighing out the pros and the cons and what would be the gain from me coming, because I always knew, you know, that me coming over here, especially coming over here like for my ex,
For sure.
that it wasn't a guaranteed thing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that I was good, you know, so I had to make sure, you know, like, okay, are they going to provide me housing? Am I going to have a decent salary to live off of? Am I going to be able to get around, like, if he and I don't work out or
Absolutely,
whatever?
absolutely.
You know, so I made sure, just kind of had all my ducks in a row.
My story for coming over here, I never thought about going to Kuwait. The only thing I know about Kuwait actually was the movie Three Kings with Ice Cube and Marky Mark back in the day. There was a movie back then, but someone had reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I was working in Dallas. Actually, I was working in Grand Prairie, which is like South Dallas. Had a job, good paying job, and someone reached out to me in October and wanted me to apply by November, and I'm like, I didn't go to Kuwait, I never heard of Kuwait. I was talking to someone, and she was like, you know what, about taking chances, right? About missed opportunities, and she's like, you should really reach out to them. And I'm like, okay. So a month later, I reached out to the recruiter, and I said, is the job still open?
And it was after the deadline, right?
Yeah,
After they told
the
you to
deadline was
apply.
November 2nd. I reached out on December 13th. She said, still open. December 15th, I had an interview with her. And then fast forward, January 4th, I had my next interview with my boss, the CEO, all those people. And then by January 13th, I had an offer, right? And I gotta tell you, it was a really emotional time for me because I'm like, and I have two kids. My son's 14, my daughter's 19, I'm divorced. It was going to be a life transition. I'm talking about moving out of my apartment, getting rid of everything. Right. So, but before you came over, what was your living situation?
So I was actually living on my own. I had my own 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, just beautiful condo in Tampa. And to my landlord, if I ever come back, I would love to have that place again. But, I had my own place, and then it was me and my dog. So boss. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
And like you said, I had to think about all those things because I wanted to bring him over, but he's a pit bull, and so, you know, just with documentation, finding out, I had to look too to see if he was going to be allowed to come in the country, find out visas for him or whatever. And then, like, I was at a school prior to the school that I'm working at, that's here in Kuwait, but I was working from home, like teaching overseas online.
Okay.
And so they kind of played the, you know, you're going to come this day, you're not going to come this day, you're going to come this day. And it was a lot of packing, unpacking. So that itself was just a mess.
Yeah.
Like, it was so emotionally draining, and like that was a lot of the strain that put on my relationship, you know, because I'm telling him like, hey, you know, I'm coming, they told me I'm gonna be there on this day.
Absolutely.
And then like that day come, I have no visa, no nothing, you know, and then you get anxious because now they telling you, okay, you need this paperwork, you need that paperwork. So thank God I had my things kind of already organized or whatever, you know, just because my parents instilled in me that you should, certain documents, you should know where they're at all times or whatever. But thinking about my nieces and nephews, we're very close or whatever, like them my babies. So, you know, like, oh, how are they gonna take it? Are they gonna be okay? Like, thinking about missing birthdays, missing dance recitals, you know, missing things like that. Like, it was like trying to figure out, like you said, the pros and the cons. Is it gonna be worth missing those things or whatever? Like, it was really just, it was like a battle, but at the same time, like, it was one of those things where, I hate to say it, you know, I had to put me first and the things that I wanted out of life or whatever, and also think about the things that by me going here that I would be able to do for them and for myself and gain from the experience.
No, that makes total sense. That's one of the things that you hit a point about, number one, about having a dog. So sometimes people don't really give a lot of credibility or credence to the fact that being a dog parent is a parent, right? Like the person who I spoke to about coming over here is a dog lover, right? Like, she has 2 dogs at the time, and they mean as much to her as my kids mean to me, right? So, and if you're not a dog person, you don't really get it, but that's how important it is. So giving up that is the same sacrifice as me giving up being away from the kids. And so for me, I tell you, man, I got so emotional about it because I was like, sitting up thinking about, okay, my son, he's about to go into high school, my daughter's in freshman in college, and my daughter and I were really, really close, and, you know, just being away from them. And so I had to, like, really kind of weigh the pros and cons, and I looked at it and I said, okay, the sacrifice of being over here for a couple years versus what I can do for them
Right.
when I return, right? It's like financial. So as we say, guys, we're at the Verb. We have some. They just want to say hello to the. You'll see. There you go. There you go. But what I can do for them when I return, and that was really the piece of it. It's like to come over here and to work tax-free, free housing, free healthcare, the amount of money that I can save within this time period. So when I return, take care of my son, buying a car, daughter's college tuition. So those are the things that like I really tried to like to think about as when I made that decision. But it wasn't easy, and it hasn't been easy.
Right, and it doesn't. I don't think it gets easier, you know, because you always have that in the back of your head, like, okay, did I make the right decision by coming and sacrificing and missing out on those things or whatever? So like, I don't think it really.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't. It hasn't gotten easier.
I don't think so either. Like people have told me, they're like, don't worry, you know, give yourself X number of months and you'll get adjusted. And I'm like, I don't care what nobody says.
I mean, I'm adjusted to the culture.
Yeah.
But I haven't adjusted to the fact of like missing my dog or whatever. Because I literally like, you know, I have money that's automatically transferred to my mom every month to pay for his expenses.
Gotcha.
You know, so like his dog food, if he needs to go to the vet or whatever, anything. Like, you know, I pay my nephew every week or whatever for him to walk him, bathe him, you know, all those things and whatever. And I'm like, okay, you know, did y'all walk Boss today? Did y'all bathe him today? Like, has he ate? What type of food are you feeding him? You know, make sure you get this bag and not that bag or whatever, because that's my baby.
Yeah,
so.
that's major. The other piece to it is this time zone difference. So in the previous videos, we had talked about when you made that adjustment, you literally are making a difference in time zone. So back home, it's an 8-hour difference. I have to set it up where when I'm getting up in the morning at 6 in the morning, it's 10 p.m. at night. So they're going to bed. So we talk. And then when I'm getting off work at 4:30, they're getting up in the morning to get ready for school. So this is what I'm talking about, like the sacrifice, right? It's and the life adjustments that are required when you make this move.
Right.
And nobody can really tell you about it until you go through it, right? Like we can tell you about paperwork. So watch Kiera's video. She'll tell you there's like getting yourself authenticated. There's a whole process.
It is, but like adjusting to these things.
Yes.
And there's no guidebook. There's no manual. There's no process. Like everybody's process is just that. It's their process.
It's their process.
And if you might adjust in 2 months, and other people might adjust in 2 years, and some people may never adjust at all.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some people who come over and they have come over and they've made a life. I mean, they've been here for multiple years, right?
Married, bought houses,
like
everything.
They've really made a transition. And other people come here and it's different. Pose this question, right? Like let's say, hey, they say, Kiera, your time in Kuwait is up. You're gonna go back home. What are the top things you think you've taken away from your experience? How long have you been here? How many months?
I've been here for 11 months.
11 months, so almost a year, not quite a year. So if your time ended today and you had to go back to the States, what are the top things you think you've gained from the experience?
I think so far, it's just made me more culturally conscious. To not even just the Arabic culture, but all cultures, because like coming here, you realize like things like American privilege or whatever, even things like, you know, like with us having a passport or whatever, you know, some people will treat you differently when they realize that, you know, you have an American passport. So, and then just how ignorant I was to so many things. You know, I've been exposed to people from all over the world because this is like a melting pot. And my school has, I think we have 42 ethnicities. I might be wrong, but I know that it's more than 30, and I'm sure it's in the 40s. So, you know, just meeting all these different people, different ideas. I would say just some really positive connections. I met some really good people here, people that if I would have been in the States, I wouldn't have met. And their different perspectives and their friendship is just like, I mean, just being able to say, okay, you know, I'm thinking about a job in Dubai. Let me call my friend and see how it is. You know what I mean? How it is over there. Or let me call my friend in Saudi and see, like, what's her experience like. Like it's really, it's different. It's a lot different when you have that or whatever.
Go watch her page, because when you watch her page or go to her Instagram, you're gonna realize a couple things. Kiera travels. Kiera's passport is probably stamped up. I don't know if she has any space left because
Like 9 pages.
Nah, yeah. So I mean, she is in Bahrain. She's in Qatar. She's in Egypt. She's in, and so she's really made the most of the experience because when you leave the States, it's weird because when I went back home, I realized, man, when I first came here, I'm like, I'm ignorant. I'm actually a pretty smart guy, but I'm like, I'm ignorant as hell about culture, about life, about different people because America is so, we have a kind of a one way of thinking, right? So in the US, we all know English, right? And not only do we know English, but you're like, we like proud of the fact this is America. You speak American, right?
Right. You speak American.
Yeah, right. But when you go to any other country, they know their native language and they know English and they know several other languages as well, right?
Right.
I was telling Kiera earlier, I was speaking to someone at school who's part of the cleaning staff and who in all regards have a low-level job, but she knows 5 languages. And I'm like, I don't know people understand how valuable it is to be multilingual, right? You can communicate with people from different backgrounds, right? And I'm over here being a dean, and I know English, right? That's it. And I'm taking a class to learn Arabic, right? So أنا أمريكي, أنا أعرف إنجليزي, أنا لا أعرف عربي. You guys understand what I said? Yeah.
And then too, just being able to kind of show my family, my friends that there's more to life than just your hometown or whatever. Because while some people that's all they want, and that's fine if that's what you want. But like I want my nieces and nephews and my family and friends to see that it's okay to go away, because. You get to see so much, you get to learn so much or whatever. And then, like I tell people all the time, because people come to me with questions like, okay, do you think I should go? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if you don't like it, you can always go back.
Very true. Very true.
You can always go back. There's nothing that's going to keep you here that, that you can't go back. I definitely have to say that I'm in a different space financially because of the tax-free or whatever. I mean, I do travel, but my travels are, I'm budgeting. I'm not just going out and staying at the top of the line hotels and, going out to all the 5-star restaurants. I definitely budget those things. But, my finances are looking better. I think personally, I have a sense of, like, I got me, like, because you have to be able to have yourself in order to survive out here.
So tell me what you mean. Go deeper with that.
Okay. I struggle with depression and anxiety really bad, especially in the States or whatever. So, typically when I have a panic attack or whatever, like I'm calling my mom, or whatever, and just, like needing somebody to help me work through that. Mm-hmm. But here, it's like my mom can't come. My dad can't come, even things like around the house or whatever, just figuring out how to hang up a TV or, little different things, cooking different meals, because with the time zone, my mom ain't always awake, so it's like just it's learning how to be self-sufficient. And the thing about it is, like, I don't want anybody to take that out of context because I'm a very, very self-sufficient person. I have always been that. And, anybody that knows me will tell you that. But here, like, coming over and having to brave through all these things by myself, like, it really makes you be, just like I said, just a little bit more. Yeah,
listen, okay. So I'm naturally an introvert. Like my natural personality is introverted. My profession and education requires me to be outgoing and go talk in front of people. But if it's just me, I'm like quiet and to myself. But when I come out here, if I maintain that same sort of personality, I would be lost because you have to get out your comfort zone. You gotta step out. You gotta go to different things, talk to people. I'm on this whole exploring thing, right? Like I'm exploring different parts of the city. I'm going to different communities. I'm going into eating at their restaurants and everything. I mean, I ain't talking about like a chain restaurant. I'm talking about like an authentic mom and pop. They cooking, type restaurant. 43, so I'm independent, but at the same time, I was heavily reliant upon time with my kids and partner and things of that nature. And so when you are out here and you're really by yourself, and no one can really come save you. Because like you said, if something happened right now, it's gonna take them a day to get over here.
Right.
Minimum. Several flights a day.
There's no flight less than 19 hours to get here.
They got to go 2
Trust
planes.
Me, I looked.
Yeah, right. 2 planes at least, and it's gonna cost you a
pretty
stack
penny.
at the minimum.
It's funny because when I got ready to leave, that was the thing that my dad said, and he's very supportive. But he was just like, "Baby girl, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to just come." He's like, "That's a whole day of flying." I'm like, "I know, Dad."
Yeah. No,
So, but yeah, you really have to learn how to like rely on yourself, and then even like the taxis. Because a lot of the taxi drivers don't necessarily, they might speak some English, but some of them don't speak English at all.
Yeah.
So then it's a matter of, okay, like you have to pay attention to those foundational skills that we learned about communicating, like body language, like what are they pointing at? How are they saying it? Like what are they trying to tell me?
Absolutely.
Because you got to try and figure it out or else, you're going to get lost.
Okay, funny story. When I first got here, I got into a taxi and trying to go to the store.
First mistake.
Right, got to the taxi, try to go to the store. I make it to the store. Okay, I tell them, hey, the supermarket. They know what supermarket is. I get back into a different taxi on the way back. Now, keep in mind, I live 1.4 miles from the store. I get back in the taxi, and the guy speaks zero English. Like, I'm sign language, and I'm trying everything I can. Zero. I pull out my phone. I'm like, look here. He didn't want to hear it. 25 minutes later, and I'm like, we're not going the right way. We're not going right. So we were going I don't know where the hell we're going, but I just know we were not going back to my place. And finally, I'm like, sir. I got a little nervous. I'm like, yo, I'm like 15 miles away from my apartment, and the guy's not listening. So finally, I'm like, sir, here. I had to give him my phone, and he got upset with me. He's like, you should have. Like, you
should have told him that.
Told
If you didn't, you tried.
So it's normally a 1 KD ride. It cost me 5 KD. Right, it's like $15 back which would have been just a 1 mile trip because of that exact reason, like not being able to communicate. Tell me one of the most interesting experiences you've had, good or bad.
Honestly, it was. I've been followed a lot, like honestly, and I don't want to scare nobody with that because the thing about here, I feel like the beauty is admired. And I'm not gonna say that they would never, go beyond looking, but I feel like there's kind of like an infatuation per se. So like I went to the store down the road from my house, and like I'm walking, and I noticed like this gray SUV, and I'm like, I think I've seen that car, a couple minutes ago. And they drove on past, and then a few minutes later, I see the same SUV again. And then like this time the guy decides like he's gonna say something to me, and I'm just like, okay. But I was told when I first got here that if you don't want the attention, just ignore it or whatever. Okay. So ignore him, but he's trying to get my attention or whatever. And like legit, he just followed me, and like he didn't get out the car or anything, but he just kept hey, da 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 and all that or whatever. And it was just, I was like, this man really followed me for like 30 minutes.
Wow.
Like waited for me to go in the store and come out and everything. And back home, I would have been really scared if that happened.
For sure.
But here, it was kind of like, I don't know how to explain it because I knew I was okay.
Whenever you tell someone you're moving to Kuwait, the first thing they do is say, are you safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? And we've talked about this before. It's probably one of the safest places you're ever going to be. Like, there's never, back home, like, crime happens quite a bit.
Right.
Out here, you can walk pretty late at night. Now, I'm a big guy, of course. I'm a man, so my fear factor is probably even less. But
but me, I'm 5 foot, literally 5 foot. That's it. No extra, no change. And I go out. I probably shouldn't have, but like how safe I feel is I've gone out at like midnight with cash in my purse to the ATM to make a deposit, and I didn't even blink an eye, because I knew I was okay. Yeah. In Tampa, after sunset, I ain't going to the ATM. Like it'll have to wait until tomorrow.
Yeah, here it really is. It's a really safe place. Every place has crime, so don't get me wrong, but generally speaking, it's really safe. It's really family oriented, so you're going to see people are out here late. Everything's here really, really late.
Yeah.
And people are out with their kids and families really, really late at parks and things of that nature. So the safety aspect was it's like the last thing you got to really worry about. Now, driving's, listen, it ain't for everybody.
They have one of the highest accidents per capita in the world.
Oh yeah, like it's when I tell you driving here
It's 0 out of 10.
Yeah.
Wouldn't recommend.
No, it's not. The problem is, though, at first I was riding in cabs, and the whole time I'm sitting back, I'm sweating, scared because you can't control it. So I drive now, but like you got to like it's.
You asked me about my craziest experience. Give me a story. I take back the following. It was the cab drive. I'm in a taxi or whatever, and he was at work, and I'm going out to explore. The taxi driver hopped in the emergency lane, and I'm talking about he gunning it.
Yeah.
And I was like, he in the emergency lane? But then I look up, and it's all these other cars in the emergency lane too. The police riding in the emergency lane. I'm like, and they flying past the police, not stopping. Like, I'm just like. And I text my family, like I took a video and I was like, we riding in an emergency lane. I love y'all. I didn't know this how I was gonna go out, but like this is what's happening. Like I still have video to this day, that I sent to them because I was just like, I'm this how I'm going out.
Listen, I'm gonna insert a video to this video of a dude on 2 wheels going about a roundabout. My man is on 2 wheels on a roundabout. When I tell you the driving is like nothing you've ever seen before. So another part of this little Talented Compromise podcast is this thing called True Story. So here's my true story. When I get to Kuwait, so I flew from Dallas to Dubai. Dubai is a really, really beautiful airport. It's huge. It's wonderful, beautiful. Then I went from Dubai to Kuwait Airport. Kuwait Airport's a lot older, right? So when you first get off, it's a difference in look, right? Everybody will tell you it's like. Now keep in mind, I don't know nothing. I'm nervous. I don't know what's going on. So, anyways, I have somebody that meet me. I go do the COVID test. They take me to customs. Then finally, I get my bags. I got 5 bags. I got my clothes vacuum sealed into the bags. Right. I'm thinking I'm home free. There's one last stop out of the airport, so you go to security twice. And there's a last stop where you have to put your bags back on a conveyor belt, right? Now your bags just came from the plane, right? But you got to put them back on the conveyor belt before you leave. So I think I'm good, no big deal. Put them on there, and then the customs lady looks at me. She says, "Over here." So they take me and my bags over to the side. They unzip all my bags. They unvacuum seal all of my clothes. Unvacuum seal it, and then they took each item and shook it out. And then the best part about it is once they were done. Okay, and they walked away, and
then you had to put all your stuff back in.
I had to put it all back, and I'm sitting there like I'm stunned, and I was like, okay, Mike, you're not in your country, you're a guest here, you can't freak out. But that was my first experience, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, what have I done? What have I got myself into? Well, once you come out here, once you get out of the U.S. and you're able to explore other places, and I don't mean just going to Mexico or going to Canada. I'm talking about like really across the sea, right? Across the ocean, you come here. There's some experiences that you have. There's relationships that you develop. There's things that you learn and people that you meet that you will never have done ever in life. And you kind of realize how sheltered you've been. Like I realize how sheltered I've been, right? And I consider myself to be a cultured person. No, right? Like I really thought I was somebody.
I really thought I was doing it for the culture. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I know my little Spanish. I know this. No.
Man, and I was so ignorant to things. So here's a perfect example. I want y'all to do. So if you Googled something in the U.S. and I Googled something here in Kuwait, our results are different, right? There's when I came here, it was doing March Madness too, right? So Compromise basketball. Well, there's restrictions on shows you watch here versus you watch there, and you try to go to a website and it's gonna not be accessible to only people in certain countries, and so it really made me think. I'm like, man, like we're not as global as I thought we were.
Right.
I thought that internet's free, we all know the same
Everybody
information.
see the same thing. Like I Google and you see the same thing. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, it's like no, it's not like that. It's really based on where you're at. It's based on how that particular country filters out information, and so then it was a matter of like meeting people, and no one cares about. When I say this, no one cares about this, right? Like the actual skin tone, skin color, right? When I say back in the States,
it's definitely prevalent.
Yeah, it's prevalent. Like it's people identify. Here, it's about nationality, right? So, in one room, you have someone from Egypt, from Lebanon, from Kuwait, from Iran, from Morocco,
Singapore.
right?
Everywhere.
And so you're talking about the mixture of nationalities has been really eye-opening for me. And never mind, you have some from Bangladesh and from Pakistan and from Philippines, and we're talking about in one area the number of ethnicities and cultures is just mind-blowing.
Right.
So, which to me is a value though, because think about, say back at home, I don't think we celebrate nationalities as much as we should. When I went back home, I was like proud to be an American, and even with America's stuff, I liked having the freedom. But I thought about, man, I'm really missing. My kids are missing out. My kids are missing out on learning from other cultures because we're just so comfortable being at home.
Right. I agree as well. Wow, that was deep.
It's an eye-opening thing for me. It's something that I in fact want to. I want to make sure that my kids get that opportunity. I'm gonna tell them go travel. What you see at home ain't everything.
Right.
Hey, actually, we'll take a break so you can eat for a second.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't mind eating on camera.
Okay. Yeah. So
A lot of times, like when we talk about what God has for us or whatever, it's where things just kind of flow.
Mm-hmm.
And with this YouTube channel, that was never my intentions. Like it was never to be.
Hold on, this is too good. Listen, let me reset this for you all. We took a commercial break, right? Off camera.
Commercial break.
So we had to. I was telling Kiera that I don't know if she understands the value of her YouTube channel, right? Literally, the way I found her YouTube channel is when I first moved here. I was trying to find information about Kuwait. Her page came up. And I watched it, and of course I was like, "Oh man, this is really intriguing." And she seemed like a very nice person. So I somebody in the comments asked for her IG. So then I friended her IG, and I sent her a direct message, and I said, "Hey, I would love to come on to your podcast. I just moved to Kuwait." Blah. She brought me on, right? That was the impetus of it.
We've been chilling.
Been kicking it ever since, right? So now here's the thing, because I was on her YouTube channel, people that I know watched me on there. Then they say, "Forget you, Mike. We all care. We care full time." So they have become a subscriber of Kiera. They watching all her videos. They tell me stuff that I didn't even know because I hadn't even seen the video yet. That's how critical it is. And I have a daughter named Zion. Shout out to Zion Faith.
Zion Faith.
Zion,
That's
yeah.
cute.
Her name is Zion Faith Freedom.
That is beautiful.
That's her full name, right? And shout out to my boy Mike Jr. too. We see you, Mike.
MJ.
But Kiera and my daughter look alike to me in the face, right? So whenever I see Kiera, I look at my daughter. But my daughter had reached out to me as well and said, "Hey, Dad, I'm thinking about podcasting." And she watched your video and she was just like inspired. And this has nothing to do with Kuwait. What is your purpose? Like, what do you think your purpose in life is? What is God anointed you to do? What is God put on your heart? And Kiera earlier was describing how this page came about. And I was telling her, I say, do your thing because you don't understand the number of people that you're impacting based on this page. So I hate to cut her off earlier, but it's an important part to reset. So you're saying when you started doing this page at first, like, what was your thought?
It was just really just to share my experience with my family. Like literally my first video was just like, okay, this is my classroom, this is where I'm at, like this is what's going on or whatever. And I told my family like, okay, this is the link, that's it, or whatever. And then like in the video, like people started asking questions, and I'm like, okay, like I'm not that type of person. Like if somebody asks me something, I'm gonna do my best to try and help them or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just make a video on it or whatever, and explain it or whatever. And it's just been kind of just going ever since, like I made videos trying to answer questions. People ask me like, what is it like there? So now I'm not just sharing my experience with them, but I'm also sharing my experience with, all these different people. And in my recent videos or whatever, I've also tried to start including a prayer or whatever, because I want to keep God in everything that I do. And that's been a huge part of my journey here. And I think if I had to go back to the question you asked me about gaining, I think coming here has really kind of solidified my relationship and my connection with Christ or whatever. So that's probably like the biggest reward, because in those times of isolation, that's who I turn to or whatever, because my mom don't have all the answers. She hasn't done this before.
Sure.
My dad doesn't have the answers. He hasn't done this before or whatever. And I'm coming over here by myself, with Christ and what Christ has done for me. And maybe one day I'll tell everybody, you know, a lot of the different things that I've been through. But I've been through some things that people have always been like, you have an anointing over your life. You're covered. Because if I tell you like just even half of it, you'll be like, and you still here?
Yeah,
you know,
awesome.
and the fact that I'm still alive, like I know that I have a purpose to spread God's good news or whatever. Whether that be through, you know, my connections with my friends or, you know, through my job where, you know, I can't, especially teaching in the Arabic school, I can't go and tell the kids like, oh, you know, God this and convert to Christianity or anything like that. But if they ask me questions, you know, I'm open and honest about it. Yes, I'm a Christian. You know, yes, I believe in Jesus Christ. You know, I believe that he rose from the dead. He died for my sins. I believe all that. And I'm not afraid to say that.
Absolutely.
Or whatever, because it's just the truth.
Yeah.
You know, am I telling them anything against their religion? No. Am I trying to sway them to a different religion? No. Or whatever, but it's the honest truth, and that's my truth.
That's the truth.
Because I get asked that question too, like, what is it like being a Christian in a country of Muslim faith? And I'm like, if I ever get kicked out of this country or lose my job or anything around me talking about my faith, that wasn't the place that God wanted me to be.
Absolutely.
But I feel like that's my purpose, to help people. And I've attracted a lot of hurt people in my life, just them feeling safe in me and feeling able to confide in me about things that they wouldn't necessarily confide in me. 3 of my ex-boyfriends, they were all in foster care or whatever, and they like latched on to me or whatever. And I was told like, you know, I have a healing spirit or whatever. So, you know, people that come from those broken homes and those type of situations, then, you know, they gravitate to me for that purpose or whatever. And then the things that I've been through, like I've been through some hurt, like some serious hurt where I've been down, you know, in the dumps, depressed, just didn't know if I was gonna make it out of that type of hurt or whatever. And I think that God had to make me strong so that way I could carry those burdens, you know, for my friends and be there for them and be that strong tower.
Absolutely,
while
absolutely.
He's being my strong tower in the midst of
Hey, what I hear you saying is what? God chose you.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
Didn't even know.
Sorry.
Didn't even know. Didn't even know. And this is critical, right? So, there's a reason why I asked Kiera this question, right? And this is not a sermon, but let me preach for a second, right? Can you help give again? Get off the island, right? Loving the Lord is wrong. No, so no, but it's important because there's so many times in which there's a plan for our life that we don't always know and ahead of time, right? Like he doesn't always reveal it to us, and so the things that he takes us through is for something greater later. You guys have heard that before. It's something for greater later. But why are you going through it? Why are you going? Listen, there's one time I was driving from Shreveport to Dallas, and I'm in the middle of a storm, and I'm talking about this is the worst rainstorm I've ever seen. I can't see anything in front of me at all, right? And when I'm driving in a storm, I'm like, this ain't gonna never end. This ain't gonna never end. I'm like, I can't see anything. But you know what happened? The storm passed. I drove through the storm. I looked back and the storm was behind me.
And you were protected.
I was protected. I made it, right? And it's like, so many of us have been through some things, man, like things that no one would ever know if we didn't tell them.
Right.
And while you're going through it, it's like, Lord, if one more thing happened, but at the end of the day, the fact that you can talk about it means that you made it through it. And if it was not for those things, it would not put you in a position to be where you're at now. So your YouTube page, your podcast, the reason why I say it's so important is that something that you didn't even intend for it to be that,
right,
is that now for so many people.
Right.
Like legit people are now tuning into you for you to share things and share your life with them.
Right.
And it's vulnerable, right? Like people only know what we tell them, right? So you gotta you gotta be willing to now and now it ain't really about you no more. Like your YouTube page ain't about you, because now you have an obligation, because people are now looking to you for something.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like God said, okay, let me go ahead and do this so your family can see what's going on, but now I'm gonna need you to intervene on behalf of other people. So now I need your page to continue to be about this. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like he has now taken over
He's literally the pilot.
The pilot.
He is the pilot. And that's really what happened. Like he came in and it's like this is your platform and this is what I want you to use it for. Like, I did a prayer, and I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified to release that video. I was terrified because I didn't know if I was gonna get backlash or anything. But in the comments, I'm talking about people of Muslim faiths, people of Buddhism, people of all these different faiths. They're like, oh, thank you for the prayer, amen, you know, this and this and that. And I'm like,
yeah.
You know, because with all the politics surrounding religion these days, you just never
know.
You never know. I literally did what God put on my heart. Like, God literally, like, I was so convicted about it or whatever, and it was like, you have to do this. Like, I felt like if I didn't do it, I was gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was thinking of, like, I don't know if Kiera knows I don't know if she knows the impact that she has, right? Like, something that was not your initial intent, that's the outcome, right? Like, that's the impact. Is even though your intent was one thing, God said, okay, let me use this, and then because you have been faithful and committed to glorifying Him. So my life scripture, anybody knows me will tell you this, 2 Chronicles 1:11, right? And I've worked in education for 20 years, right? And I tell everybody, this is a hashtag true story, hashtag full disclosure. I'm a basic dude. Like, I tell everybody, I say I'm dark skinned, I'm chubby, I got a speech impediment, I'm basic. But I've always been fairly successful. God's always put me in leadership positions. And the reason why is that I've always asked God for wisdom to lead people. So when they came to Solomon, they said, hey, Solomon, what do you want? And Solomon said, this wisdom lead people. And he's like, you didn't ask for riches and fame, but this wisdom, I'm gonna give you everything.
Right.
And that's kind of been my thought is like, God, just help me to lead people, put you first, and you'll take care of the promotions and the raises and all that.
Everything else comes next.
Right, everything else will come next.
Every morning when I get up or whatever, I pray, and you know, I ask God every single day, let the people see your light and you in me, or whatever. And recently, I've been, you know, also talking to the Holy Spirit, like, you know, Holy Spirit, use me, you know, whatever it is that you want me to do, like, just have me do it. Whatever it is that you need me to say, help me say it, or whatever. So, you know, just really, I think it comes down to being 100% submissive to God's will. And that actually happened while I was here. This whole thing is literally ordained by God. Like, I don't care what nobody say, it's meant for me to be here. This is part of my purpose.
Yeah.
So my mom always told me, she's like, I knew that there was an anointing over your life when certain things started happening. She said once those things started happening, you know, I started talking to your godmother, and we was talking to these people. She's like, you have a special calling, and she said, and your calling is huge. She said, I don't know what it is. She said, but you've already been through some things that, you know, just would have took other people out the game. And she said, but God got something for you, and she's like, it's over there. She's like, I don't know if it's going to be particularly in Kuwait or whatever. She said, but it's something to do with you going over there. You have to go there, or whatever. And like, she kept telling me, delayed but not denied, delayed but not denied. She's like, you gonna go, you know, don't give up, or whatever. And like, for my mom and my dad to keep pushing me to come here.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm their baby. I'm the youngest one out of all of my siblings. So it's like, you know, most of the time it'll be like, no, don't go, you know, stay here, or whatever. And they like, no. And then even my nieces and nephews, they like, when you leave to go to Kuwait, you know, like, they were excited. And those my babies, you know. And once it was time for me to come, I'm telling you, things just started going like this. Everything just went smoothly, and like I said, then with the YouTube channel, like, everything just has been just like
been lining up.
Just been lining up because I've been obedient.
Yeah.
And I've been literally following, like, whatever it is, whatever He says to do, send me, Lord, I'll go.
So, Kiera, I want to first say thank you very much for being on the first ever inaugural Talented Compromise podcast.
Thank you
it's
for
been amazing.
having me.
It's been amazing.
It has been.
Yeah, it's been legit. It's been therapy, actually.
Always. Literally always.
So, let people know about your IG, about your lashes, let them know about your page. Yeah.
All right, so my Instagram is sincerely_Kiera. And then my YouTube is the Kiera Shenice Experience. And yeah, your girl out here doing lashes as a side hustle.
Right, that's a side hustle. So make sure y'all follow her pages, like, subscribe, comment, do all those different things. Show her some support, some love. You guys know where to find the Talented Compromise, my IG, and you'll see just some fashion stuff. So part of that is, you know, trying to find some cool looks for big dudes out there. You know, it ain't easy, right? So that's what that's about. But make sure y'all follow us, right? So
And make sure y'all like and subscribe this video. Subscribe to his channel. Big things are coming. I'm telling y'all.
right, get on the front. Don't feel like I make it to show up. Back then, they didn't want me.
And don't forget about the little people.
Yeah, right. I won't forget about the folks that were there along the way. But no, it's been real. Shout out to the Verb Cafe in Samia over at Cube Mall for us being out here, and everybody's been real cool. So you will see us again. All right, you'll see us again, and
Most definitely.
we've had enough of this conversation to make a couple videos. So you'll see some stuff out there. But until then, we will see y'all next time. Peace.